As you work through the serious selling process, you learn where the customer is today. That's their situation. You've interpreted their needs or requirements and the implications of taking action. In other words, we now know where they're starting from. Let's call it point A. Also, we know where, in an ideal world, they need to be, and specifically how we can get them there. We might call this their vision. This is the time that they start to get the benefit from the successful implementation of whatever they've bought from you. But in simple terms, let's call it point B. Now what we need to do is assure them that by selecting us as the supplier of the goods or services they need, we can get them from A to B. We call this the perfect plan. In this episode, our objectives are to identify a common pitfall for salespeople as they move towards closing a sale, to describe a simple tool for nailing down some of the crucial steps in getting the order, and to explain how this builds a closer working relationship with the customer. In talking to the prospective customer, we will paint a picture of the perfect world, the happy sunny place where we're going to take them, the successful implementation of whatever it is they need to do. If you've done this properly, their focus will have shifted from the problems they have today to the point in time in the future where these particular problems are all solved. Clearly, this will be some time after you or your company have delivered that solution. We can even draw this out on a simple timeline. OK, you've done a great job getting to this point, but we still don't have a commitment from the customer. Often it's at this stage the whole sale can unravel. That's because two things happen about now. First, the customer starts to underestimate the time it will take to formalise the ordering process and take delivery. That's one problem we need to close off at this stage. But the second problem is you. As a salesperson, when you're about to close a sale, you automatically shift your focus to a different point on the timeline. The point at which the customer issues their formal purchase order or signs the contractual paperwork that binds their decision. This is totally natural. After all, salespeople usually get rewarded based on the day they secure the business, not the day the product or service starts to deliver some value to the customer. So we have a disconnect. Why is this a problem? Well, in the eyes of the customer, who may well be used to dealing with the typical salesperson, you can seem a bit selfish. It looks like all you want is their commitment, and then you'll disappear, leaving them to make sure everything works out. Come on, you know what I mean. Take the money and run. Instead, use this perfect plan technique. Draw it out for the customer as you get to the point of asking for the order. A simple timeline. Start by drawing in point A, today, where we are now. Then draw in point B, the vision, the successful implementation, where we want to end up. Let's say it's going to take 90 days to get there. Add this figure to your timeline. Now ask, how long before this service goes live, or this device gets switched on, will you need to have it available? You see, very rarely does anyone take delivery of something and then they're able to use it straight away. Think of the last time you upgraded your mobile phone. The new model arrives by courier, you want to use it immediately, but the first thing you probably need to do is charge up the battery. Once that's done, you need to insert your SIM card. You may need to copy your list of contacts from your old phone so you can make a call. To do this, you probably need to spend a little time with the instruction manual. So in reality, it might be a few days before you're able to start using your new phone properly. The same is pretty much true of anything. So, on the timeline, take the customer through some logical steps. Before they start to use whatever it is you sold them, they probably need to try it out. So introduce a point on the timeline for delivery. Let's say they need it delivered 30 days before putting whatever it is into service. Mark this date, about 2/3 of the way along the timeline. To the right of this, mark something like testing phase. Now, what about the people who will use this new device or service? Will they need training? Maybe some hands-on experience? If so, we'll need to do this first. Mark another point a little earlier along the timeline, maybe 15 days before you go into final testing. Mark this now and indicate it as the training phase. But prior to training, we need to unpack and install the product. It may need an engineer to install it, so this needs to be scheduled. Mark this too. By now, we'll have moved some way back along our timeline by, say, another 10 days. If we tell the customer we need 10 days to process his contract and arrange delivery, we finally arrive at the date we need his PO. So now we can identify the latest point at which the customer needs to make a contract with you. Fantastic! Without putting the customer under any unnecessary pressure, you've identified a date for the PO or contract. This also makes it clear to the customer all the other actions they need to take in order to make the project a success. Working together in this way, you've created the perfect plan, one you're both happy with and one you will drive together through to completion. The final stage now is to ask the customer what steps they need to take first to get the authority to spend, and have their buying department raise the necessary paperwork. This process may also take 10 days. Mark it on the timeline. At this stage, you could even ask the customer to confirm that this leaves enough time for them to organise going through the whole process. The idea is to leave this perfect plan with the customer so that they take ownership of it, but make sure you have a copy first. Now you can both track progress to make sure the project completes successfully and on time. This technique is sometimes called end-back planning because you start the thinking and planning process from the end and work backwards. Done properly, and with a little bit of finesse that you will acquire as you practice, the technique has several powerful benefits as we come to the crucial closing stages of a sale. First, you make it clear to the customer you will help them achieve their vision, not just take their money and run. You create a joint plan where you both understand the critical steps on the path to success. And you know exactly when you'll receive your contract, or PO, without making it look like it's the only thing you're interested in. As you go through the process, you might also find the customer, instead of sitting opposite you in a slightly confrontational way, is now working alongside you. Instead of just a supplier-customer relationship, you will now be working as a partner, both putting effort into achieving a shared goal, the successful outcome of a project. Don't be surprised if the next time the customer has a need for a product or service, they call you because you're a tried and trusted ally, and they don't even bother to get a price from one of your competitors. So by using this simple tool, you can achieve an enormous amount while being in control of a key stage. Now there's just one more thing we need to do, and that is close off the whole sales process. So tune in to the next episode where Brian will show you all about concluding the business. Meanwhile, I know you'll enjoy great success by putting these techniques into practice, so for now, from me, Mike Wilshire, goodbye.